Welcome to the Wander Creative Podcast, your guide to digital marketing. Journey with us as we navigate organic social strategies, discover the latest in paid advertising, and explore current trends in content creation. Your weekly roadmap to figuring out the ever-changing digital world starts now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Wander Creative Podcast. My name is Dan. I am your host today. I'm a director of digital marketing here at Wander Creative, and I am joined by Chloe, who rocks all things social media.
Yes.
Thanks for joining.
So excited to be here.
What are we going to be talking about today?
We are talking about social media. Is it everything but social? How to utilize it and connect with people.
That's it's heavy. We're going to get a little bit
heavy.
Meta, a little philosophical here. But anyways, let's kind of just dive into like the very beginning. I know in our in one of our podcasts we talk about email and like its origin. Yeah. So let's kind of dive into the origin of social media. What was it designed for?
Right. I think on the surface, social media was designed for people to connect and for people to stay in touch. I think the first social media apps were messaging apps or something of that sort. Yeah. That was kind of considered social media back in the day. And I think that it is kind of transitioned from that. But we still use it to connect with people, but it's a different version of that. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to message you on Instagram.
Right.
I think that it's evolved into a lot more intentional connection and like that relationship building we've kind of talked about a little bit. But I think the connection was kind of what, it origin from, you know?
Yeah. I know that this does not quite count as like social media, but I kind of personally attribute like even AOL Instant Messenger. Like, yeah, I'm getting old with it. Okay. But that to me was like kind of the same thing. It was like, I can message someone right now and they'll see it and they will message back. And yeah, I do think that and all these other things were kind of like stepping stones to what it could mean to connect with other people around the world. Yeah.
And it was kind of like a display, like I'm going to put my life on display for everyone to, it kind of still is that, but building that connection with people you don't know, I think was kind of like the transition of, okay, I'm not just letting my friends follow me on Instagram. Like it's a lot more people that I don't interact with on a daily basis. And I think it kind of started out like your close circle of friends, your close like family members. Facebook kind of was just family and friends and that's it. And now it's like way more than that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
People have like thousands, like just personal accounts, just way more than I interact with in my entire life. Right. So yeah. And you even look at things like, I'm just really dating myself a little bit, but like things like Zynga was like an old like blog type platform. You had MySpace, you had which is still my personal favorite. Recommend getting one. But yeah, it's like you had all these other platforms that were like kind of intros to like this is a little bit about me. It's kind of like a blog plus where it was like you can stay up to date with my life. Travel blogs were huge. Yeah. And so I think they were all these small steps towards the behemoth that it is today. Right. So what do you think? Do you think it's really been doing that, or do you think it's turned into something else?
I think obviously all of the social media platforms still have messaging like inside them, but I don't think honestly people use them for messaging. I think that they use them to send people things like a post that they saw and they're going to send it to their friend. That's all like your DMs are. Like it's not really like a exchange conversation because we have text message and we have FaceTime and we have calls and the people that you're actually going to be conversing with are going to be those personal relationships. Yeah. But I think that it's evolved a lot more into, okay, I'm putting my life on display and you're just coming in contact. Like I had mentioned in another episode, like when you get on someone's social media, you can tell in like the first 2 seconds of like, okay, this is what this person's about or this is what they're passionate about. Yeah. And I think that it's kind of like your brand. I think social media has turned into kind of like a way for you to get your voice out there and kind of promote yourself in a way that is coming across to all these random people that you might have never met in your life. Right. And it's kind of like what you want to appear as kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that can kind of go into the whole like people dog on social media because they're comparing themselves to others. And I think comparison is a big thing people don't want to be on social media for is
Right.
because they don't want to dive into, okay, well, I'm scrolling on Instagram for 3 hours a day and I hate myself because I'm
Yeah.
like seeing all these other things that I want to be.
Sure.
But I think that it also has been, from the other side of that, has been so encouraging. And I think it's evolved into an outlet for people to, again, share the things that they're passionate about. But yeah, I think that it's evolved a lot, but it still, you know, holds that messaging aspect.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think what you said was really interesting too, about like you promote yourself and you promote what you want people to see, and that can breed a lot of inauthenticity because that's a word, right? That's a word.
Inauthentic.
Yeah. Because I think there's definitely like an element of, you know, you can post only what you want people to see. And I think that has bred, you know, a lot of like, I mean, it's cliche, but it's like, hey, that's not real life.
Right.
You're seeing literally the highlight reel of people. And I'll give credit. I don't think it's any kind of like malicious intent to like deceive people. It's like, no, what's worth posting? It's the highlights of my life.
Right.
I'm probably not going to be that guy who's just going to post a picture of like a cup of water on my dinner table, be like, this is what I'm, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, no, you post you traveling to Italy, you post whatever, because that's exciting to you. So I give credit there. I think also what you said about it's become also a platform where you just like share content with each other. That's so real. And the amount of like anxiety I get when I open my DMs and like a group chat of some of my friends, it's like, all right, you've been sent 36 reels. And I'm like,
or TikTok. TikTok is the worst.
It's like
literally the worst because it's so convenient for you to just push one button and you're sending it to like, you can send it to as many people as you want.
And I'm like, it's so annoying when people send me like 50 reels to watch. And I'm like, wait, I do that nonstop. That's all I do is like shoot people reels. And
it is like you're messaging them, but you're like sharing what you think that they would enjoy. And it's like,
But then it's a chore for them.
Right.
And I just don't have to deal with it. It's crazy. So social media, it was definitely built to connect. And
so how do you think that's?
Well, I think it's tough because it's like, if we're looking at this from a brand standpoint, like, you know, we're kind of ebbing in and out of kind of personal use versus brand use. But like, walk me through a scenario of what it looks like for a brand to be utilizing it the proper way, which is to like socially connect, versus kind of the improper, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah. I think properly, like if you're using social media for the extent that it can be, because I think social media can be such a great marketing tool and a great connection, like we had said. If you're using it in an authentic way, which we had talked about before as well, then you're reaching the right people. Like you're reaching the audience that's going to interpret the things that you're posting in the right way. I think that there really is a balance between the two, because I think that you have to, when you're setting out your social strategy, you have to kind of think, which we had talked about in an episode before, organic versus paid, you know, posts. And there has to be a balance there of showing, you know, what you're passionate about and something that's valuable to your followers, because you're not coming to Instagram to like give something away. Like you're coming to social media to gain something. And I think that if a brand is doing that effectively, then they have a lot of mixed content. Like it's not just you go on their Instagram and it's all of this marketing, like you should buy this, you should sell it, like we're selling this. Like there has to be kind of a mix of the two. And I think that an effective brand like social media platform would be, okay, I'm looking at their like platform and I can tell that they're passionate about what they're doing, and I can tell like the purpose, like even plugging in, like you had mentioned, like a story behind what you're doing, like kind of sharing your heart behind the project you're working on, or sharing like behind the scenes of like just some entertainment kind of things. Like there has to be a lot, like you kind of have to dive your foot into a lot of different aspects, and it can't just be, okay, I'm posting all informative stuff.
Sure.
Because you're going to reach a tiny bit of the platform that you could, you know, dive into.
Well, yeah, what's the metric that we use? It's for every one marketing post, you need three personality posts. So, I think that's a great point. You really cannot push too far the marketing language, the sell, because to your exact point, I mean, when you get on social media, it's not why you get on it. So if anything, you need to kind of be led into that. How can we coerce someone to be interested into whatever the ask is, whether it's listen to my new song, let's tell you about the story behind it, or give you snippets of the instrumental and you're like, that sounds really good.
Right.
Whatever that is, I think that's a really good point. So you would say that a brand poorly executing that is one that's just hammering
I think info and just like the same thing over and over. Like even if you're using a lot of self-promotional aspects, you can do so much with that. Like you need to kind of have a different approach to doing that. And we had talked also earlier about like that can be disguised as organic content. Like you can post like a video of you speaking about something and it is organic, but also is going to drive like, hey, listen to my new single, or kind of hide it in there a little bit. It doesn't have to be just a static post of, hey, I have a new single out with no audio, like it's just literally promotion. And I think that just differentiating what you're promoting, kind of approaching it in a different way can be like, you just have to get creative with it. Like you can't just put it on Instagram. It's kind of just like releasing it because you have to. And I think that that's also a struggle with social media, is because people think that they have to be on every platform and they have to post so much in a day, and it's almost like you're meeting that criteria, but you don't care. Like they don't care about what is like the why behind the post. They don't care. They're just getting it out there because they feel like
it's
they have
what
to.
You should do. Yeah. I think to that exact point, and I know this isn't a paid advertising episode, but I will also just plug in that like do not like if you're an artist releasing a new single, you can't run an ad that's just a photo talking about the single, or even a picture of the artwork. Like put the audio behind it. Like there's so many elements that, like you said, you can utilize to really help portray that social side, because it is more personal to do it the right way rather than to just push content out. And it's like,
and we don't naturally we don't like to be over marketed. Like I would never, like if I was following someone that was doing that all of the time, I would get annoyed. Like I'm gonna unfollow them because I love what they're like, the message behind it, but that's all I'm seeing on my social media, and that's not why I'm here, kind of thing. So
100%.
So we just talked about how it's negatively impacting. What do you think that that's doing to people? Like we've kind of been connected. We talked about how that's kind of how social media started. What do you think that that's looking like now? Like what do you think that's, and personally, on a personal standpoint?
I think it is very interesting that we are, we are able to talk to people around the world that we've never been able to talk to in the past. We're more quote unquote connected than ever. But it is very strange that we are more anxious, depressed, lonely than we've ever been. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of statistical evidence to prove even that being true. And I think it's just fascinating. I mean, like I'm a youth leader, and it's so interesting seeing teenagers being even affected by social media negatively, and like if they are not on their phone, they're anxious. And like I see that with my friends and people and my peers, where they'll get anxious in a room, so they'll turn to their phone to escape. But I think it's very interesting where it's like, I think that might be the problem. I think I don't think it's coincidence that we are using technology more than ever, but we're also more anxious, and we're more, like all this stuff I think is so interesting. And I think that, how can we individually, or listeners as a brand or an artist, like be as intentional as they can with social media, to help in a way people not have to escape to social media, to devices. And so it's been very interesting to see. And I think I've even had to, it's crazy admitting this as a digital marketer, but I've had to like really set aside time where I leave my phone in a different room, and like it's just too easy. Have you ever found that like when you're in a line or on an elevator or anything, you just pull up the phone?
It's the awkwardness. It's because we hate social interaction.
I can't look around.
No. It's like the awkwardness of making eye contact with someone that's also not on their phone.
I know.
So then you feel like you have to say something, and it's like, that's what we should be doing. 100%. Like we should maybe look up and like interact with humans.
if you guys like, if you watch any movie that like takes place in the 80s and they get on an elevator and everyone's looking forward at the back of everyone's heads. And it's so funny because that's foreign to us.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we're used
Looking
to everyone
down.
looking right down.
And even if you're not doing anything on your phone, like I have done that before.
Oh,
like even in the elevator, I'm like pretending that I'm doing like typing or because I'm like, I can't let this person know that I'm not like doing something.
On the flip side of that, if you get comfortable with talking to strangers, they think it's the weirdest thing in the world. They look at you like, what do you want? Like,
do I know you?
Yeah.
Have we met before and I'm supposed to remember?
People hate my take on it where I say there's no such thing as strangers, just friends you haven't met yet.
Amazing.
And
I love that.
That's it's nice in theory until you try it with other people.
Yeah.
And you're a stranger to them. Yeah, you're not a friend. So I do think it's interesting.
Awesome.
It's ironic that, and sad. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, social media is important and it gives us jobs, but I don't really know how we come back from, pushing more and more technology. We're putting it in front of kids. And how do we protect the kind of human experience of truly being able to connect with one another in person? And I think that even personally, I value so much when I'm with someone and they're not on their phone at all. And
I notice it immediately.
Yeah. Isn't that sad?
Yes. It's so sad because I can pick up on it. Like when I'm with my friends, like I have certain friends that I know.
Yep.
Like when we're together, my phone could be across states and I would never even notice. But like you just notice the people that immediately you can be around and not have to have that. And it is sad.
There's a psychologist who talked about mentally what happens to your brain when you even see someone's phone out, which put that bad boy away. But it was interesting because he said like if you're on a date or if you're hanging with a friend or at the dinner table, having your phone out on the table is communicating to the other person subconsciously, if something were to come up, I'm going to put this on hold and I'll take it. And
that's
so
true.
And he said even face down, he said like keep it in your pocket out of someone's line of sight so that they don't think, well, I only have them until their phone is ringing or text.
Wow, I love that.
Or anytime people are like, if you're talking and we're hanging out and I go, and I just start.
And you're like even acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And then you're like out of the conversation.
Or even if I'm doing the Well, I'm like looking at my watch or whatever. I don't know about you, but it just disconnects. Like I stop wanting to talk about whatever.
No. And I think that you just have to come to a point where, like you said, I've had to do the same thing. Like I limit myself. And especially with it as your job, like both of us, I feel like are doing it every single day. I kind of have been astray from it in a way where I have to set time out where I'm like, I cannot be on my phone and I need to have some sort of social interaction because it's easy to lean into like influencers and people that I like interact with on social media and I'm like living through their life.
Right.
Like I'm literally like, oh, I feel like I'm like in like her best friend because I follow her on social media, but we've never even spoke before. Like 100%. It's like I know more about her than I do about like my friends. And I'm like, that is so odd. It's so odd.
Well, it's funny. It's kind of backwards and people laugh at me, but like I got the Apple Watch with cellular and I actually did that intentionally because now it does allow me to leave my phone even when I go out. And it makes people laugh. They're like that's more connected. I'm like, no, it helps me disconnect. Yeah, because it's like if I get an emergency call, I can take it and I can respond to a text. But other than that, it's like it forces me to not pull out my phone in awkwardness.
Right, and it doesn't give you the access to be like the comfort of that. Because I feel like people are so comfortable in social media that they're uncomfortable in real life.
Yes,
like it's like you're living through another life on Instagram.
Yep,
like
completely.
And that's so easy to do.
Yeah.
So easy.
It's wild. So, I mean, and I think that to kind of wrap this up, I think that puts all the more stress and importance on brands being intentional with how they use social media because it's like, if they're trying to target you or I who set time away from our phones, when we're on it, how can they communicate as efficiently as possible? Right. So that we know what we need to know, so that we know products are available, songs are out, whatever that is, tours are launched. So social media, it's not as social as we think it is, but it really is a tool that I think we've misused. I don't think it's its fault. I think we were given naturally, this crazy tool that we have become addicted to a little bit or run with or have sought shelter in. and maybe it wasn't built to hold that kind of weight,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Dang, we got real meta with it. Pun intended.
Great direction.
Pun intended. We got meta. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Chloe.
Yes,
always
thank
a pleasure.
you so much.
And if you guys are listening, we have another exciting episode coming out next week. So stay tuned, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us for the Wanda Creative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you missed any of the highlights, don't worry. You can get all of the show notes at wandacreative.com/podcasts. And while you're there, sign up for the digital drop to get new episode alerts and also receive the latest digital marketing news, tips, and tools delivered straight to your inbox. Until next time.